I think you're kind of in the same boat where you like to travel and trade. And this is something I got addicted to like in the past year. So how do you handle this to be able to travel and trade at the same time? Because I've seen some challenges for sure, and I've overcome a lot of them. But what are some things that you do maybe to make it easier?
Yeah, well, one is you've got to, like, if you go someplace continually, you can get like those travel modems, you know. So like if I go to the United Kingdom a lot or Italy, you just make sure that you have a modem for that country, right? And it's like a prepaid, so you can just keep topping up. So, like if you rent a house in Italy, it's the house is going to have internet, right? But in case it goes down, or in case you're someplace and you want to check your trade, having those travel modems, those prepaid travel modems, is gold. I have them for many different countries. So wherever you go somewhere, you make sure that you can put credit on it and you've got your internet connection. The other thing is, it's okay to pare it back and not trade the 4 hour when you're on holiday. Like if you're in Europe and you're having a holiday, maybe it makes sense to just keep, and that's not that difficult. So I really like making. I just feel comfortable when I know I have internet, and I know that if the internet in the rental house goes out, I've got my prepaid modem. I really like that, and I also like the idea of just sticking to daily and weeklies when I'm traveling. I actually like traveling to Europe because Europe is obviously the London Open, and that's when a lot of my trades trigger is London Open or New York Open. So it's in the middle of the day in Europe. That's great because here in Australia, I have the days open with the Asian session, and then the London Open starts in the early evening hours, which is fine. It just means when I'm in Europe, I just have to make sure that that I'm aware that when I wake up, I should probably see if the trades have been triggered. That's all. It's the other thing you can do is automation. So you can have scripts or EAs that will move your stops to break even for you, so you don't actually have to do that manually. And that's a good idea too, if that's the way that you trade. And you're worried about not being able to do that when you're on a flight or something. Some flights actually have internet now, so that's really good. Obviously, all airports have internet, so if you're in an airport, it's quite easy to manage trades. And then the other thing is, just know what's going to happen when you get there. Like if I'm going to Vancouver in Canada, for example, that's a terrible time zone. Um, so I just have to be aware that, um, a lot of the trade action is going to happen when I'm sleeping, right? So that, you just have to be aware of when is this stuff going to be, when are your trades going to be triggered, and what time of the day is that going to be where you're at, and that sort of thing. But I think if you just pull back a bit, trade the higher time frames, use some move to break even scripts, have the travel modem, those are the kinds of things that I use. I used to, 8 years ago, I used to have to find internet cafes, but you don't have to do that anymore with the prepaid modems. You can pretty much be set anywhere. So yeah.
It's interesting because I thought that you were more focused on looking at the chart only once a day or maybe twice a day. So what I see is that you have kind of a mix between managing your trades and looking at new setups. How does that work out in your schedule? Do you look at the chart multiple times or?
No, I just look at the chart. So if I'm in Australia, I just look at the chart in the morning. So like now, basically, as we're recording this, and I will decide whether or not I'm going to take a trade in the evening when the London market fires up. And if I'm in Europe, it's the same thing. I would look at the charts in the evening before I went to sleep, because that's sort of the Asian session. And if there's anything that looks good there, then I would wake up in the morning early and make sure that my trades are my orders are put in. So you can still do it twice a day. The biggest deal, I think, is when people are in a trade and they're on holidays and then it turns into a loser, and they, at least for me, that's not very nice when you could have moved to break even. So having scripts for moving to break even is the biggest deal for me. That's where I find the most value, really, for automation is removing that risk that's still there in an open trade. So that's how I do it. I still only look at the charts twice a day. So for example, let's say I look at the charts during the Asian session, and I say, oh, well, that looks like that's potentially going to be a really good trade when London comes in. And then if I go to London on the London Open and it's totally different, like Asia did something way different than I thought it would, then I just won't take the trade. So it still basically is a look and a decision, and then you just follow up and just make sure that everything looks right when you put it in the platform. That's how I do it. So it's basically twice a day.
And is there a reason to wait for London to open to place your trades, or wouldn't you be able to place just an entry order right away?
Yeah, that's a great question. If I lived in some place like New York, I would do that. I would do that. Right when I went to bed, I would put in my order, because obviously London's going to open in the middle of the night, and I'm going to miss it. So I would wait as long as possible to, maybe I might go to bed at like 11:30 p.m. and then put my order in, right? Something like that. And here's the reason why. It's a great question. So what I've found is that we know that our daily chart trades most of our losers occur on Mondays and Fridays. So we don't trade daily charts on Mondays and Fridays. The other thing we know is that typically if you have a daily chart signal, what you're going to find is that if your entry is taken during the Asian session, it also increases the chances of a loser. And so this is what we call the Asian drift, where the market tends to go, not always, but tends to kind of slowly move against the move that will later come in either during the London Open or the New York Open. So all I'm really looking for, if I see a trade signal on the daily charts during the Asia session, all I'm really looking for when Asia's over and London's firing up, Frankfurt's open, London's starting to open, all I'm looking for is just the confirmation that the Asian market didn't do something drastic. Something drastic would be if it went strongly in the direction that I expect it to go. So if I'm buying Euro USD and I see Asia just takes Euro USD up 80 pips or something crazy like that, then I say, okay, something's wrong here. I'm not going to take the trade. It's gone way too far. And it's likely actually to reverse either, if not during London, maybe during New York session. So that's the only reason why I would wait, is to make sure that the Asian drift sort of does what I expect it to do. So I'm always looking for the market to go down if I'm going to buy during Asia. So it should go down during Asia. And if I'm going to sell, I always look for the Asian market to go up slightly. And the same thing is the case for Mondays and Fridays. If I'm looking to take a weekly chart trade, I'll take that trade on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Why? Because I know that it's likely to go against that trade on Mondays. So that's basically how we do it.